The idea behind the baby parade is that people put babies on giant floats to show them off. As a parent, I can confirm this is an awful idea. Either the babies will ruin the float by trying to eat it, or they'll crawl off the edge and fall. Guaranteed.
Argo Funk Book Review. Argo Funk Book Review.
This book was written by Ellen Miles. Kristy babysits for her younger brother and sister when she sees an ad for the baby parade in the newspaper. Kristy remembers Emily is a baby, and she gets one of her obvious ideas. One of her famous great ideas. She could enter baby Emily in the baby parade. Mrs. Prezioso calls the Babysitters Club. She needs a sitter for Andrea, who was born 4 books ago. She offers to pay for the babysitters to go to an infant care class as preparation. All of the women at the class are pregnant, except for Mrs. Salem. She's got 3-month twins. Really? She's had babies for 3 months and she's only learning how to take care of them now? I wish I was exaggerating, but no, this woman has no clue how to take care of her kids. One of the babies starts to cry and she's absolutely dumbfounded about what to do. This goes on for 10 minutes until one of the babysitters suggests checking the diaper. Mrs. Salem is surprised to discover that, hey, the baby does have a stinky diaper. Your baby is 3 months old. How do you not know babies poop by now, Mrs. Salem? The class is led by Anita and her partner, Dawn. He is super hot for an older guy. Kristy has an instant crush on him, until she finds out that they have a son. Then she puts him in the unimportant dad category. Poor Dawn. The book skips straight from the first class to the last class, where they have a baby care exam. Kristy is the narrator, so she gets a perfect score. Kristy babysits for the Preziosos. Internally, she makes snide remarks about how Mrs. P and Jenny aren't dressed to the nines like normal. Gee, it's like having a baby in the house takes up all of Mom's free time. The job goes badly, considering that Kristy got a perfect score in baby care class. She's overwhelmed by taking care of a baby and a 4-year-old at the same time, even though that never bothered her when she babysat Jamie, Newton, and Lucy in previous books. Continuity! I had 2 problems with Kristy's babysitting job. Number 1, baby Andrea sleeps on her face. That's incredibly dangerous and could lead to suffocation. Number 2, Mrs. P has dozens of bottles filled with baby milk. That is amazingly impractical because baby milk spoils very quickly. 1 hour for formula, 1 to 2 days for breast milk. Mrs. P is going to have to throw out half of those bottles. In the subplot, Mrs. P finds out about the baby parade. One of the parade segments is a stroller brigade, as seen on the book's alternate cover. That makes way more sense than putting babies on floats. Mrs. P pays Kristy extra to decorate Andrea's stroller as a queen's coach. She'll be the cutest person in the baby parade. And she wins 3rd place. Good for her. The babysitters talk about the baby parade, and they decide to make their own float. It will star all the babies they know, except Marnie Barrett. I guess the girls secretly dislike Marnie. As their theme, they pick the little old lady who lived in a shoe. Next chapter, Jessie goes to Claudia's backyard, where everybody's working on the float. For reasons that never get explained, the girls hate each other. They are really mad at each other, and they refuse to say anything to each other. So that means Claudia's making the shoe on her own, Stacy's making paint on her own, and Mallory's making costumes on their own, and none of those things match in the slightest. The float preparation is interrupted when the babies scream over toys, and one baby throws up on another baby. This is the most realistic scene of the entire book, and I approve. Dress rehearsal turns into a huge fight. Claudia's shoe is a lumpy mess, while Mallory's baby outfits look like clown costumes. They both use the excuse that they tried their best, but they got conflicting instructions from everyone else. That's obviously not true. We saw them making the float last chapter. Nobody was giving any instructions to them because nobody was talking to each other. Continuity! The girls argue at length, and Dawn is not at all sorry for making Mallory cry.
I suppose you all think I should be apologizing for my behavior in Claudia's yard today. But to tell you the truth, I don't think I have to. I was only being honest.
The float ends up being a disaster. The girls' outfits don't match, the babies look hideous, and Claudia adds shoelaces to the shoe, which somehow makes it worse. People in the audience laugh at them. Kristy's brother Charlie is embarrassed to be seen with them, and they get stuck next to the bagpipe band. I have to wonder why they had multiple live bands at a baby parade. Babies don't like loud noises. In the last chapter, Kristy decides the problem with the float is that none of the girls work together to make it. The girls all call each other at the same time so they can apologize, and Kristy decides it's a happy ending because the girls aren't fighting anymore and baby class got them some new clients. The end. Post-book follow-up. Last book, I complained about ghostwriters making the girls generic. This book shows the opposite tendency, which is to make the girls into broad stereotypes who aren't allowed to say or do anything outside of their set personalities. We can see this best when the girls argue over what to make their float. Dawn wants surfers, Stacy wants New York, Kristy wants baseball, Mallory wants horses. We don't hear from Jessie, but we all know she wants a ballet theme, and Marianne just wants an excuse to show off her cat. The moral of the story is that the girls should work together instead of fighting. That's a good moral, but like I said, we never get told why they started fighting in the first place. It feels like the only reason they started fighting was so they could get a lesson about cooperation. The fight itself was interesting, but there was no introduction to it, and the resolution was a little heavy-handed. I like the infant care class segment of the book. It's a nice way to educate middle schoolers about baby care. The problem is that the girls magically forget everything they already know about babies just before class starts. It's a continuity error for them not to know what colic is, or for Jessie to act like she's never been around a baby before. She has a baby brother. Overall, this book is fine, even if the premise is a little ridiculous. It's got an overload of cute babies and an easy-to-digest moral. I'm sure it went over well with readers. I'm gonna give it the average score. I give Babysitters Club number 45, Kristy and the Baby Parade, a 5 out of 10.